He didn't know it at the time, but the most expensive thing he ever lost was something no one could see. Not money, not time, not opportunity. It was a thought. A thought he repeated so often it stopped sounding like a thought and started sounding like truth. From the outside, his life looked normal. A job, a routine, a future that seemed acceptable. But inside his mind, something quieter was happening. Every morning, before his feet touched the floor, his thoughts had already decided what kind of day he was going to have. This is just how life is. Some people get lucky. I'm not one of them. I'll try, but it probably won't work. He didn't say these things out loud. He didn't have to. His mind whispered them with perfect confidence, and life listened. Years later, he would look back and realize something terrifying. Nothing had gone wrong all at once. There was no single mistake, no dramatic failure, just small thoughts, repeated daily, quietly shaping his decisions. Every missed opportunity was first missed in his mind. Every failure was rehearsed there long before it happened. But this story is not about failure. It's about something far more uncomfortable. It's about the invisible asset every human being is born with, and how most people spend it without ever realizing its value. Because the truth is this: your life does not move in the direction of your intentions. It moves in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. And by the time most people understand that, their future has already been decided. This is the story of one man. But if you listen closely, you may hear your own thoughts speaking back to you. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why your thoughts are not harmless. They are the greatest asset of your life. Chapter 1. The Thoughts He Never Questioned. Ethan Parker's alarm rang at 6:30 a.m., not because he liked waking up early, but because he had trained himself to believe that this was what responsible adults did. He reached for the phone, silenced the alarm, and stared at the ceiling. The same ceiling, the same room, the same quiet feeling of being behind. Another day, he thought. Let's just get through it. The thought came automatically, no emotion attached to it. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't sad. It was familiar. And familiarity, more than truth, is what most people trust. Most thoughts don't announce themselves. They don't demand attention. They simply repeat until they become normal. Ethan showered, dressed, and poured coffee into a travel mug he'd been using for years. The lid didn't close properly anymore, but he never replaced it. It still works, he always told himself. That sentence followed him everywhere. Traffic crawled as usual. A billboard on the side of the road advertised a startup company looking for creative strategists. Ethan glanced at it. For half a second, a different thought appeared. I could do that. It was brief, fragile. Almost immediately, another thought stepped in, stronger, louder. They're probably looking for someone better. The light turned green. Ethan drove on. Most opportunities aren't rejected out loud. They're dismissed silently before action is ever required. At work, Ethan sat in the same cubicle he'd occupied for 4 years. Not because he was lazy, not because he lacked skill, but because every time the idea of change surfaced, his thoughts wrapped it in doubt and labeled it realistic. You ever think about applying for the team lead role? Jake asked. Ethan shrugged. I don't know. I'm not really leadership material. Jake frowned. Says who? Ethan smiled lightly. Just feels that way. Jake nodded, unconvinced. But Ethan had already accepted the answer. The most dangerous beliefs are the ones that sound reasonable. That afternoon, Ethan made a small mistake in a report. Nothing serious, but the moment he noticed it, a familiar inner voice spoke up. Of course you messed it up. His chest tightened slightly. Not panic, not fear, recognition. He corrected the error and sent the file anyway, but the thought lingered.
not as an insult, as a conclusion. That night, Ethan called his mother. "How was your day?" she asked. "Same as usual," he said. There was a pause. "You ever think about doing something different?" Ethan laughed softly. "I think this is just how my life turned out." At some point, people stop imagining the future and start defending the present. After the call, Ethan sat on the edge of his bed. His laptop was open. A blank document stared back at him. Months ago, he had started writing ideas for a personal project. Not a big dream, just something that felt like his. He stared at the cursor. "What's the point? You won't finish it anyway." His fingers hovered, then pulled away. The laptop closed with a soft click. Thoughts don't control your life all at once. They do it quietly, one decision at a time. Ethan lay down and turned off the light. In the dark, one last thought drifted through his mind. Maybe tomorrow will be different. But even that hope came with a condition. Probably not. And without realizing it, Ethan drifted to sleep carrying the same thoughts that would quietly shape another identical day.
Chapter 2. The Same Thoughts, a Different Day. The next morning didn't arrive with resistance. It arrived with routine. Ethan woke up before the alarm this time, stared at the ceiling again, and felt the same weight settle in his chest. Not heavy enough to complain about, just heavy enough to accept. Nothing really changes, he thought, and that's fine. The thought wasn't sad, it was protective. Some thoughts don't hurt you directly. They simply lower your expectations until disappointment feels unnecessary. At work, an email circulated across the department. Subject: Internal Opportunity, Project Expansion Team. Ethan read it once, then again. The role wasn't a promotion exactly, but it led to visibility, new responsibilities, new people, new pressure. For a moment, his heart rate shifted, just slightly. This could be interesting. Then the familiar counterthought arrived, as predictable as gravity. It'll be a lot of stress, and what if you fail in front of everyone? Ethan leaned back in his chair. He didn't delete the email. He didn't respond either. He marked it unread. Procrastination often disguises itself as patience. During lunch, Ethan overheard two coworkers talking. "I'm applying," one of them said. "Worst case, I don't get it." Ethan took a sip of water. Worst case, he thought, I confirm what I already know. The thought felt logical, responsible, even mature. Someone asked, "You thinking about it too, Ethan?" He shook his head gently. "Not really my thing." And just like that, a possibility closed. Not because it wasn't real, but because his thoughts had already decided the outcome. The mind prefers certainty over possibility, even when certainty keeps you small. That afternoon, Ethan made another small decision, and then another, each one guided by the same internal logic. Stay safe, don't stand out, don't disappoint anyone, including yourself. On his way home, Ethan took the longer route, not for exercise, just to avoid going straight back to his apartment. The city moved around him, people rushing, people laughing, people talking about plans. He watched them like they were part of a separate world. A man nearby was on the phone. "Yeah," the man said, smiling. "I figured I'd try. What's the worst that could happen?" Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. Not envy, recognition. Some people just think differently, he told himself. And with that thought, he placed an invisible line between himself and them. Labels are powerful. Once you label yourself, your thoughts work hard to prove you right. Later that night, Ethan opened his laptop again. The blank document appeared. The cursor blinked patiently. "You're tired," a thought said. "Start tomorrow." He nodded slightly, as if agreeing with a reasonable friend. The laptop closed. Again. As he lay in bed, his phone buzzed. A message from Jake. "Jake, I applied for that project, nervous but excited." Ethan stared at the screen. He typed a reply. "Ethan, that's awesome. You'll do great." He meant it. He really did. Then he placed the phone face down. It's easier to believe in someone else's potential when your thoughts have convinced you that yours is already spent. Ethan closed his eyes. The day faded, but the thoughts didn't. They stayed, waiting, ready to guide tomorrow the same way they guided today. Nothing bad happened, nothing dramatic, and that was the problem. Chapter 3. When Thoughts Begin to Echo. Ethan didn't notice the change right away, because from the outside, nothing had changed. Same job, same routine, same apartment. But something had shifted beneath the surface, like an echo returning from a place he hadn't realized he'd been shouting into. The conference room was unusually full. Managers sat closer to the screen than usual. Notebooks were open. Attention was sharp. Ethan took his usual seat, slightly off to the side. Jake sat near the front, excited, nervous, alive. The director spoke. "This expansion project will need people who can think independently, people comfortable with uncertainty." Ethan felt a faint tightening in his chest. Not fear, recognition. That's not me. I like stability. I don't handle pressure well. The thoughts appeared automatically, like old coworkers who knew exactly where to sit. When a thought is repeated long enough, it doesn't feel like a belief anymore. It feels like personality. The director continued, "We're looking for people willing to take initiative, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed." Ethan nodded along, not in agreement, in resignation. As people stood and gathered their things, Jake approached Ethan. "You sure you didn't want to apply?" Jake asked. Ethan smiled. "You know me." Jake hesitated. "I don't think I do anymore." It wasn't an insult, it was an observation. Sometimes the people around you notice your limitations before you do, not because they're judging you, but because they remember who you used to be. 2 weeks later, Ethan sat across from his manager, Susan. She scanned his file. "You're consistent," she said. Ethan waited. "But you don't stretch." The word landed heavier than expected. "I do my job well," Ethan replied. Susan nodded. "You do, but you stay where it's safe." "Safe," the word echoed. "She doesn't understand me. I'm just realistic." But a quieter thought followed. "Or maybe I've been afraid." The mind will defend familiar patterns, even when those patterns limit growth. Ethan sat alone, eating dinner from a takeout container. The TV played something he wasn't watching. His phone buzzed again. "Jake, I got the role." Ethan stared at the message longer this time. He felt happiness for Jake, truly. But beneath it was something else. Not jealousy. Loss. That could have been me. The thought surprised him because it wasn't followed by its usual companion. But I would have failed. That thought didn't arrive. Not immediately. When thoughts repeat, they don't just shape choices, they shape identity. And identity quietly decides what feels possible. Ethan stood up and walked to the window. The city lights blinked back at him. Somewhere out there, people were making choices, risking embarrassment, risking failure, risking growth. He pressed his forehead against the glass. "I didn't even try," he said aloud. The words felt heavier spoken. He remembered being younger, pitching ideas without apology, failing loudly, recovering quickly. Back then, failure meant feedback. Now, it felt like confirmation. At some point, fear stops protecting you and starts replacing you. Ethan returned to his desk and opened the blank document again. This time, he didn't close it. He stared at the blinking cursor, waiting for permission, for confidence, for certainty. None came. So he typed one sentence,
Just one. Not a plan, not a promise. A question. When did I stop believing I could grow? He stared at it, and for the first time in a long while, he didn't look away. The echo had returned, and Ethan had finally heard it.
Chapter 4. The Illusion of Safety. Ethan didn't avoid risk because he was weak. He avoided it because he believed he was being smart. That belief had protected him for years, or at least that's what it told him. The morning after Jake's promotion, Ethan arrived at work early, earlier than usual. He told himself it was productivity. In truth, he just didn't want to hear congratulations echoing through the office. The lights hummed softly. Rows of empty desks waited patiently. Ethan sat down and opened his email. Nothing urgent, nothing new. And strangely, that brought relief. Good, he thought. No surprises. Safety doesn't always feel like fear. Sometimes it feels like calm, predictable, manageable, small. Ethan prided himself on being reliable, on meeting expectations, on not making mistakes that drew attention. Attention felt dangerous. If I don't aim too high, I won't fall far. If I don't expect much, I won't be disappointed. If I stay here, nothing bad can happen. The logic was clean, convincing. At mid-morning, Susan stopped by his desk. "We'll need someone to help Jake transition. Temporary, higher responsibility." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Jake suggested you," she added. For a brief moment, something inside him leaned forward. This could be a chance. Then the counterthought arrived. Temporary responsibility still means visibility. Visibility means scrutiny. Scrutiny means risk. "I think Jake's the better fit," Ethan said quickly. Susan studied him. "You're sure?" Ethan nodded, too quickly. The mind doesn't need certainty to avoid risk. It only needs a reason that sounds responsible. Susan walked away. The office returned to its quiet rhythm, and Ethan exhaled. Relief washed over him. But relief came with a cost. Ethan ate at his desk. He watched Jake across the room talking animatedly with someone from another department. People listened, asked questions, smiled. Ethan looked back at his screen. "That's not me," he told himself again. This time, the thought didn't comfort him. It boxed him in. When safety becomes identity, growth starts to feel like betrayal. That evening, Ethan met his sister, Claire, for dinner. She noticed the silence immediately. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just tired." Claire tilted her head. "You've been tired for years." They ate quietly for a moment. Then Claire spoke again. "You ever think you play it too safe?" Ethan stiffened. "I don't see what's wrong with stability." "Nothing, unless it's just fear wearing a suit." The words landed harder than she intended. Ethan set his fork down. "I've seen what happens when people take risks. They fail, they get embarrassed, they lose time." Claire met his eyes. "And what happens when they don't?" Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it. Fear doesn't always warn you. Sometimes it negotiates. That night, Ethan lay awake. His thoughts replayed the day, the opportunity, the decision, the relief, and underneath it all, a quiet dissatisfaction he couldn't explain away. "You're safe," his mind said. "Why isn't that enough?" Ethan turned on his side. He remembered something his father once said. "Comfort is expensive. It costs you everything you don't become." At the time, it sounded dramatic. Now, it sounded accurate.
The next morning, Ethan stood in front of the bathroom mirror. He looked older than he felt. Not in years, in certainty. He brushed his teeth slowly, watching his reflection. "You're not stuck," he said quietly. The words felt unfamiliar. Then another sentence followed. "You're just afraid." He didn't argue with it. The moment you stop pretending safety is neutral, you start seeing what it's really costing you. Ethan rinsed his mouth and turned off the light. As he left the bathroom, a thought followed him. Not loud, not confident, just honest. What if staying safe is the real risk? For the first time, Ethan didn't feel protected by his thoughts. He felt limited by them. And that awareness, quiet as it was, changed everything. Chapter 5. The Cost of Waiting. Ethan used to believe waiting was neutral, that it didn't count as a decision, that if he stood still long enough, clarity would arrive on its own. It never did. Days blended into weeks, weeks folded into months. Nothing dramatic happened, and that was the problem. Time doesn't announce when it's taking something from you. It just quietly accepts what you never claim. Ethan woke up each morning with the same intention. I'll figure things out soon. Soon became a flexible word, a comfortable one. At work, Jake was thriving, leading meetings, making mistakes, learning quickly. Ethan watched from a distance, telling himself the familiar story. It's still early. There's time. Once things settle down, once I feel more confident, once I know for sure. The conditions multiplied. The action never came. One afternoon, Magdis met Marcus, an old college friend. They hadn't seen each other in years. Magdis looked different. Not richer, not flashier, just grounded. "You ever finish that idea you used to talk about?" Magdis asked, casually. Ethan laughed. "I still think about it." Magdis smiled. "Thinking's a good place to start." The pause that followed said the rest. Waiting feels harmless because it doesn't hurt immediately. Its damage is cumulative. Magdis leaned back. "You know what scared me the most?" he said. "Not failing, realizing I'd been rehearsing my life instead of living it." Ethan felt the words land somewhere deep. Ethan's birthday arrived quietly. No milestone number, just enough candles to make him pause. He stared at the cake longer than necessary. Not nostalgic, calculating. How did I get here so fast? That night, he lay awake, counting years instead of sheep. Each one marked by intentions, not actions, plans, not attempts. Most people don't regret what they did wrong. They regret what they never tried while waiting to feel ready. Ethan reached for his phone, scrolled through old photos, smiles from moments he remembered clearly, long gaps where nothing stood out. It wasn't panic that settled in. It was clarity. Waiting wasn't protecting him. It was erasing him. "I've been budgeting my courage," he whispered, saving it for a future moment that never arrived. Thoughts that postpone action feel responsible until you realize they've postponed your life. The next morning, Ethan made a small decision, not a dramatic one. He applied for a role he would normally avoid. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't overthink it. He clicked submit before fear could negotiate. His heart raced, then slowed. Nothing exploded. The world didn't end. I didn't need confidence. I needed movement. Ethan leaned back in his chair. For the first time in years, he felt something unfamiliar. Momentum. Waiting had cost him years, but action, even imperfect, returned something immediately.
Hope. Chapter 6. The First Thought He Challenged. Ethan expected fear to disappear once he acted. It didn't. Fear showed up anyway, just less convincing. The email confirmation sat unread, not because he hadn't seen it, because opening it felt like acknowledging a new version of himself. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear narrate your future. Ethan finally clicked. Thank you for applying. Nothing more. No validation. No reassurance. Just acknowledgement. His mind tried to fill in the gaps immediately. They won't respond. You're not qualified. This was pointless. The thoughts came quickly, but something was different. You're not qualified. Is that true? Ethan asked out loud. The question surprised him. The moment you question a thought, it stops being a command and becomes a suggestion. Ethan sat back. He'd never spoken to his thoughts before. He'd obeyed them. He opened a notebook. On the left side of the page, he wrote, "Thought. I'm not qualified." On the right side, he wrote, "Evidence for. Not enough experience. Haven't led projects like this before." Then he paused and added a new section. Evidence against. I learn fast. Others with less experience applied. Jake believed in me. I've handled responsibility before. The list grew. Slowly. Honestly. Most thoughts feel powerful because they're never cross-examined. Ethan stared at the page. The thought hadn't vanished, but it had weakened. That evening, Ethan called his sister. "I applied," he said. Claire was quiet for a second. "Proud of you," she replied. "I'm terrified," Ethan admitted. Claire laughed softly. "Good. That means you care." For years, Ethan believed fear meant stop. Now, it meant pay attention. Fear doesn't predict failure. It predicts importance. Over the next few days, Ethan noticed something. The same thoughts still appeared, but they no longer sounded absolute. They sounded negotiable. The email arrived on a Thursday morning. "We'd like to move forward with an interview." Ethan read it 3 times. His chest tightened, then expanded. "You'll mess this up," a thought whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe, but I'll learn something." The thought had no response. When you stop arguing with fear and start acting anyway, your thoughts lose their authority. Ethan prepared carefully, not obsessively. He practiced answers. He imagined success. And yes, he imagined failure, but neither controlled him. Thoughts are forecasts, not facts. The night before the interview, Ethan slept. Not perfectly, but deeply enough. Ethan hadn't become fearless. He'd become curious. And curiosity was far more powerful. Chapter 7. A different outcome. The interview room looked ordinary. Neutral walls, a glass table, 2 chairs. Ethan had imagined this moment dozens of times. In every version, fear was in control. This time, it wasn't. Ethan sat in the waiting area, hands folded loosely in his lap. His thoughts arrived on schedule. You are out of your depth. They'll see through you. You don't belong here. The difference was subtle. Ethan noticed them. Awareness doesn't silence fear. It changes who's holding the microphone. Ethan inhaled slowly. "Thanks for trying to protect me, but I've got this," he thought. The tension in his shoulders eased. The interviewer smiled. "Tell me about a time you handled uncertainty."
Ethan paused. Not because he was stuck, because he was choosing. Be impressive. No, be honest. Well, Ethan said, I used to avoid uncertainty completely. The interviewer leaned in. So what changed? I realized avoiding it was costing me more than facing it. Authenticity isn't confidence, it's alignment. The conversation flowed. Ethan didn't perform, he participated. When he didn't know an answer, he said so. Then he explained how he'd figure it out. Halfway through, the familiar thought returned. You're saying too much. Ethan smiled internally and kept going. Thoughts don't disappear when you grow. They lose their veto power. As Ethan walked out, adrenaline faded. He didn't replay every word. He didn't self-criticize. He felt complete. Whatever happens, this mattered. Outside, the city felt sharper, brighter. Not because the world had changed, because Ethan had. Days passed. Ethan returned to work, but something was different. He spoke up more, asked questions, not to be noticed, to be involved. Jake noticed. You're different, he said. I stopped arguing with my thoughts. Jake laughed. That sounds expensive. It was, in time, Ethan replied. Growth doesn't announce itself. It shows up in behavior. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. We'd like to offer you the position. Ethan closed his eyes, not in disbelief, in gratitude. Thank you, he said calmly. After hanging up, his hands trembled, but his mind was steady. The outcome changed because the response changed. Same fear, same doubt, different decision, different future. That night, Ethan wrote again in his notebook, this time one sentence. My thoughts tried to keep me the same. I chose growth. The external win felt good, but the internal shift mattered more, because Ethan now understood something crucial. Thoughts only shape your future when you never challenge them. Chapter 8. When Old Thoughts Return. The promotion didn't silence Ethan's thoughts. If anything, it invited new ones, more convincing ones. The office felt different from this side of the table. More eyes, more expectations, more consequences. Ethan sat at his desk staring at a project brief that felt heavier than its pages. They made a mistake, the thought arrived calmly. This won't last. Ethan noticed the familiarity. Old thoughts don't leave when you grow. They wait to see if you still believe them. 3 days in, Ethan made a miscalculation. Not catastrophic, but visible. The meeting went quiet. Someone corrected him. Ethan felt heat rush to his face. See, you don't belong here. The thought had teeth. For a split second, Ethan froze. Then he remembered the notebook, the questioning. Good catch, Ethan said. Let's adjust. The room moved on. The moment passed, but something else stayed. Confidence isn't never being wrong. It's recovering without self-destruction. Ethan replayed the mistake on his walk home. The old habit tugged at him. If you fail early, you'll fail often. He stopped walking, literally stopped, on the sidewalk. You're not facts, he whispered. The thought lost volume. The mind repeats what once kept you safe. Growth requires retraining, not erasing. I messed up, Ethan admitted. Claire didn't panic. Did you die? She asked. No. Did you learn? Yes. Then you're fine. Ethan laughed. The tension dissolved. Failure no longer felt like identity. It felt like information. Ethan noticed something new. The voice of doubt still appeared, but it no longer spoke first. Curiosity did. The dominant thought always wins, not the loudest, the most practiced.
One night, Ethan opened his old notebook, flipped back to earlier pages. The fear was still there, but so was evidence of progress. My thoughts didn't predict my future. My response to them did. Ethan wasn't cured. He was trained, and training changes outcomes over time. Chapter 9. The thought that almost took him back. The most dangerous thoughts don't sound negative. They sound practical. Ethan had been in his new role for 6 months. On paper, he was succeeding. Projects delivered, respect earned, momentum building. But inside his mind, a familiar voice returned wearing a new disguise. You've gone far enough. The mind resists growth not only through fear, but through false satisfaction. Ethan noticed it in small ways, skipping opportunities to speak, delegating instead of leading, choosing efficiency over exploration. You don't need to prove anything anymore, the thought said. You've already improved. It sounded wise, mature. Why risk stability again? Why stretch when you're already ahead of where you were? Ethan nodded along. Almost. Ethan's mentor, Daniel, invited him for coffee. Daniel had been watching quietly. You're doing well, Daniel said, but you're pulling back. Ethan frowned. I'm just being smart. Daniel smiled knowingly. That's what we all say before we stop growing. Growth doesn't end because you succeed. It ends because you stop challenging the thoughts that got you there. Daniel leaned forward. The same thinking that rescued you from fear won't protect you from comfort. The words unsettled Ethan. Later that week, Ethan declined an opportunity to lead a high-visibility project. Too soon, he told himself. Too risky. That night, the old heaviness returned, subtle, persistent. Why does this feel familiar? Regression doesn't feel like going backward. It feels like staying where you are. Ethan opened his notebook again. This time, the page stayed blank longer. Then he wrote, Am I choosing peace or avoidance? The next morning, Ethan walked into Daniel's office. I changed my mind, he said. I want the project. Daniel nodded. I was hoping you would. Growth requires renewal. The thought hadn't vanished, but it had been exposed. And once seen clearly, it lost its power.
Chapter 10. The asset he never knew he had. Ethan used to think wealth was external. Money, skills, connections. He had been wrong. Ethan sat alone in a cafe, notebook open. Not planning, reflecting. He flipped through pages filled with thoughts, old and new. Fearful ones, curious ones, challenged ones. Each page told a story. Every result in your life can be traced back to a thought you believed long enough to act on. Ethan realized something unsettling. The thoughts that once limited him hadn't disappeared. They had simply been replaced, one by one, with better managed ones. He began to see his mind differently, not as a battlefield, as a portfolio. Some thoughts compounded. I can learn. I don't need certainty to move. Fear is information. Others depreciated. I'm not ready. It's too risky. I'll wait. Thoughts compound like investments. The return depends on which ones you keep. Daniel joined him at the cafe. You look different, Daniel said. Ethan smiled. I stopped outsourcing my future to my thoughts. Daniel laughed. That'll do it. For the first time, Ethan saw the pattern clearly. His future had never been decided by circumstance. It had been shaped, quietly, by the thoughts he rehearsed daily. Your mind is the only asset that appreciates or depreciates based on how you manage it. Ethan remembered his old self, waiting, avoiding, negotiating with fear.
He didn't judge that version of himself. He understood him. He was protecting me the only way he knew how. A junior employee approached Ethan later that week. "I don't think I'm ready," she said. Ethan smiled gently. "Neither was I," he replied. "But readiness comes after movement." The lesson was complete, but the practice was ongoing. Because thoughts never stop coming. Only management does. Chapter 11. The Final Test. Growth is easy to believe in when nothing is at risk. The real test comes when something important can be lost. The email arrived late on a Thursday evening. No subject line, no warning, just a request. Urgent meeting, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Ethan felt the old tension rise instantly. His body reacted before his mind could respond. "This is bad. You pushed too far. You got comfortable." The thoughts lined up quickly, efficiently. Under stress, the mind defaults to its most practiced beliefs. Ethan sat back in his chair, closed his eyes. He didn't try to replace the thoughts. He examined them. "Interesting," he said quietly. "You showed up fast." The thoughts hesitated. That night, sleep came in fragments. Dreams replayed mistakes, conversations that never happened, outcomes that hadn't occurred. Ethan woke up before his alarm, not rested, but alert. Awareness doesn't eliminate discomfort. It prevents panic from making decisions for you. The room was fuller than usual. Leadership at the table, documents stacked neatly, serious expressions. Ethan took his seat. The old Ethan would have shrunk. This one stayed present. The director spoke. "We're restructuring the department." Ethan's chest tightened. "Here it is," the thought whispered. Positions would be reassessed, responsibilities redistributed, leadership evaluated. You could lose everything. Ethan breathed. Or you could gain clarity. The same thought can signal danger or opportunity, depending on who interprets it. When the floor opened for questions, Ethan raised his hand. His voice was steady. "What qualities are you prioritizing in leadership going forward?" The room paused. Then the director answered. "Adaptability, ownership, growth mindset." Ethan nodded. He knew this language. He had lived it. People whispered anxiously, speculated, prepared for defense. Ethan returned to his desk, not to brace, to act. "I won't wait this time." He drafted a proposal, not perfect, honest, clear, focused on contribution, not protection. When fear stops driving the pen, clarity shows up. Ethan sent the proposal before doubt could renegotiate, the same way he'd applied months ago. Movement first. Days passed. Uncertainty hovered, but it didn't dominate. Ethan worked, led, stayed engaged. The decision came quietly. Ethan was offered a broader leadership role, more responsibility, more uncertainty. He accepted without hesitation, not because he was fearless, because he trusted his ability to manage his thoughts. Mastery isn't controlling outcomes, it's controlling your response to uncertainty. The test had come, not to punish him, to confirm what he'd learned. Thoughts don't decide your future. Your relationship with them does.
Chapter 12. The Realization. The realization didn't arrive dramatically. There was no rush of emotion, no cinematic moment. It arrived quietly, like truth usually does. Ethan stood at a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. People around him stared at their phones. Cars idled. Life moved at its usual pace. And suddenly, without warning, the pattern became clear. Most breakthroughs don't feel like explosions. They feel like alignment. Ethan thought back over his life, not just the recent changes, all of it. The hesitation, the waiting, the safe decisions disguised as logic. None of them had been accidents. My life didn't happen to me, it followed me. The light turned green. Ethan didn't move right away. He let the thought finish. He saw the invisible thread connecting every outcome, each one tied to a thought he repeated. I'll wait until I'm ready. This isn't for people like me. It's safer to stay where I am. And later, I can learn. Fear is information. I don't need certainty to move. Thoughts are not harmless background noise. They are instructions. Ethan crossed the street. That night, Ethan sat alone at his desk. No notebook, no agenda, just reflection. If my thoughts built this life, he said softly, then they can build the next one too. The statement didn't excite him, it grounded him. For the first time, Ethan didn't feel chased by the future, he felt responsible for it. Responsibility isn't pressure, it's power once you accept it. Weeks later, Ethan found himself speaking to a small team, not instructing, sharing. I used to think my thoughts were just reactions, he said. They weren't. They were rehearsals. People leaned in. One person asked, "So how do you stop negative thoughts?" Ethan smiled gently. "You don't," he said. "You stop letting them decide." That night, Ethan returned to the first page of his old notebook, the question that had started everything. When did I stop believing I could grow? He didn't answer it. He didn't need to anymore. The moment you realize your thoughts are shaping your future, you inherit the most valuable asset of your life. Ethan closed the notebook, turned off the light, and walked forward, not with certainty, not without fear, but with awareness. This was never just Ethan's story. It's yours. Every thought you repeat is a vote for the future you're building. Choose wisely. Chapter 13. The Quiet Relapse. Growth didn't disappear, but effort did. Ethan didn't notice the relapse at first, because it didn't feel like fear. It felt like efficiency. His calendar was full, meetings stacked back to back, decisions faster, responsibility heavier, and slowly, reflection disappeared. When life improves, awareness is often the first thing we stop practicing. Ethan stopped writing things down, stopped questioning thoughts immediately, not because he didn't believe in it anymore, because he believed he had graduated. "You've earned some rest," the thought said. "You don't need to analyze everything now." It sounded reasonable. Again. Ethan still performed well, but something was missing. Not motivation, precision. Mastery fades when practice turns into memory. He noticed it during conversations, interrupting instead of listening, deciding instead of exploring, reacting instead of observing. Not bad, just automatic. One afternoon, a colleague said casually, "You've changed. You're sharper, but quieter." Ethan smiled, but the comment followed him home. Quieter how? Silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's disengagement. That night, Ethan lay awake again, not anxious, disconnected. And the old question returned, older now, wiser. Am I managing my thoughts or letting momentum manage me? Chapter 14. The Second Mirror. Growth always sends a mirror. If you ignore it, it sends consequences. Maya joined the team unexpectedly. New hire, younger, observant. She asked questions others avoided, challenged ideas respectfully, spoke thoughtfully. Ethan recognized something uncomfortable.
She reminded him of his earlier self. Seeing yourself in someone else can either inspire you or expose you. During a meeting, Maya hesitated, then spoke. "I think we're solving the wrong problem." The room went quiet. Ethan felt irritation rise. "She doesn't see the full picture," his mind offered. Old authority thinking. Ethan corrected her quickly, decisively. The meeting moved on. Later that day, Maya knocked on Ethan's door. "I might be wrong," she said carefully, "but I don't think you heard what I was trying to say." The words were calm, but precise. The most dangerous moment in growth is when certainty replaces curiosity. Ethan sat still, listened, really listened, and realized something uncomfortable. She was right. I stopped questioning once it started working.
Chapter 15. The Asset Revisited. That night, Ethan reopened the notebook, not to learn, to remember. He wrote a single sentence. Thought management is not a phase. Your greatest asset depreciates the moment you stop maintaining it. Ethan realized something deeper than before. Thoughts don't only shape where you go, they shape how you stay there. Confidence unchecked becomes arrogance. Efficiency unchecked becomes rigidity. Experience unchecked becomes stagnation. Growth requires humility as much as courage. Chapter 16. Two Futures. Every thought creates a fork. Most people never see it. Ethan imagined two versions of himself, one who stopped reflecting, one who recommitted. One became respected but distant. The other remained sharp but grounded. The future doesn't punish neglect, it simply compounds it. Ethan reintroduced a ritual, not daily journaling, not overthinking, just one question each night. Which thought drove me today? Chapter 17. The Thought You Inherit. Ethan used to believe his thoughts were personal, original, self-made. He was wrong. The house hadn't changed. Same couch, same hallway, same unspoken rules. Ethan stood in the doorway longer than necessary, not because he missed it, because his body remembered it. Some thoughts are so old you mistake them for instincts. His father sat quietly, eyes fixed on the television. His mother moved between kitchen and table, efficient, careful. Conversations stayed practical, safe. "Work going well?" his father asked. "Yeah," Ethan replied. A pause followed. No follow-up, no curiosity. This is where I learned to stay small. Children don't inherit words, they inherit reactions. Ethan remembered being young, excited, talking too much, being told, kindly, to calm down, to be realistic, to not get ahead of himself. No one meant harm, they meant protection. My fear wasn't born in me, it was taught to me. Chapter 18. Family Patterns. Patterns don't announce themselves, they repeat. Later that night, Ethan helped his mother with dishes. She smiled tiredly. "You've done well for yourself," she said. "I always worried you'd try something risky." Ethan paused. "Why?" She shrugged. "Because disappointment hurts. Some families avoid pain so successfully they avoid growth with it." Ethan nodded slowly, not in agreement, in understanding. This is where my caution learned its language. You ever wonder what you didn't do because you were afraid? His mother didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, all the time. Chapter 19. The Fear You Didn't Choose. Not all fear is irrational.
Some of it is inherited survival. Ethan lay awake in his childhood room. The ceiling fan hummed softly, the same sound from decades ago. Fear is often just outdated advice delivered too loudly. Ethan realized something important. His fear had kept him safe once, but it wasn't designed for the life he wanted now. Gratitude for protection doesn't require obedience forever. Chapter 20. Rewriting Internal Language. Thoughts don't change first. Language does. Ethan noticed how he spoke, to himself and others. Just, maybe, probably. Words that shrank in tension. Your internal language sets the boundaries of your future. Instead of, "I'll try," he said, "I'll start." Instead of, "I hope," he said, "I intend." Small changes, massive impact. Chapter 21. The Compounding Effect. No single thought changes your life. Consistency does. Ethan didn't become famous, didn't become perfect, but he became trusted, grounded, clear. Compounded thoughts don't explode, they accumulate. People came to Ethan for perspective, not answers. Perspective. This is what aligned thinking creates.
Final chapter. This was never about Ethan. If you're still listening, this part is for you, because Ethan's story ends here. Yours doesn't. Ethan was never the point. He was the outline, the example, the distance that made this safe enough to hear. Every thought you repeat is shaping something, whether you notice it or not. You didn't just listen to a story, you watched a pattern, one that may feel uncomfortably familiar. Think about the thoughts you repeat most often. Not the loud ones, the quiet ones, the reasonable ones. "I'll do it later. That's just how I am. It's too risky right now. Some people are built for that. I'm not." Those thoughts don't sound dangerous because they don't attack you. They negotiate. They offer comfort in exchange for delay, certainty in exchange for growth, safety in exchange for possibility. No one teaches you this. Your mind is an asset, not because it's positive, but because it compounds. Every thought you reinforce makes the next one easier to believe. Every thought you question loosens the grip of the next. You don't need better motivation. You don't need confidence. You don't need permission. You need awareness. The future isn't built by dramatic moments. It's built by the thoughts you stop arguing with. So here's the invitation. Not a challenge, not a command, just an experiment. The next time a thought tells you to wait, shrink, avoid, or stay quiet, don't fight it. Ask it one question. Is this helping me grow or helping me stay the same? That's it. That's the skill. That's the asset. Ethan didn't become extraordinary. He became intentional, and that made all the difference. Your thoughts are not background noise. They are blueprints. Choose carefully. And now, before you move on to the next video, the next task, the next distraction, pause just for a moment. Nothing in your life changes overnight, but something did change today. You noticed your thoughts, and once a thought is noticed, it can never control you the same way again. You don't need to remember every word of this story. You only need to remember one truth. Your thoughts are not just reactions, they are investments. And whatever you invest daily will decide the life you live tomorrow. So when doubt speaks, listen carefully, not to obey it, but to understand it. Then choose better. If this story helped you see your mind differently, come back again, listen again, because awareness compounds too. Until then, guard your thoughts. They are the greatest asset of your life.
If this audiobook helped you think differently, you might want to stay here. This channel is for people who want depth, not noise. Subscribe to Sunny Raw Audioverse and continue building a mind that works for you.